Hey guys, my name is Francisco Hernandez, and today's video is another in my Building the Shot series, which is a series where I break down everything I can about how a single photo of mine was taken, and also show you guys the completely unedited raw images and how I processed the photo, and a little bit about how I set up the photo shoot as well. In this video, I'm going to go over this image on the screen right here of Philly that I took at a recent trip to Canada. I want to give a huge thanks to Philly for modeling and my friend Alan for setting up the photo shoot because it was a lot of fun. In my last Building the Shot video, I forgot to mention the gear and the lighting, so I'm going to do that right away before I forget. The lighting was the original Explore 600 manual. I used that one with the Cheetah Stand QSB, which is their 34-inch beauty dish with 2 diffusion panels and a deflector plate, and I believe I used the Cheetah Stand C10 light stand. When it comes to the camera and lens, I used the Sony A7RV, which I don't own. I was lent that by Alan's friend Stuart, so big thanks to Stuart for lending me the A7RV with the Sony 50 1.2 GM. That combo was honestly crazy. I used it throughout the entire time over there in Canada, and I really like that combo, but I'm trying to remind myself that, you know, my wallet is like this big, not this big, so just save money. Before I continue, I do want to let you know that this video is sponsored by Adorama. Adorama is an industry-leading retailer that has been serving photography, videography, and audio customers for almost 50 years now. Their motto is everyone is a creator, and they do their best to unleash that creator within us all by providing us with the tools and expertise necessary to get the job done. I personally shop at Adorama for both the great deals on the products that I use and recommend, but also the great customer service on those products as well. If you find yourself interested in any product that I talk about in today's video, check out the links that are going to be in the description area below, and be sure to use those links if you decide to order. As always, on the screen is a photo without any sort of flash firing, so you guys can see exactly what the flash does. I do my best to take these shots because I'm a visual learner, and I think it's just good to see exactly how the light looked like before it even fired, so you can see exactly what it did. And you can see that my friend Alan right there is on the right holding the dress, and Ashley's right there on the left. And again, we were using the original Explore 600 manual with the Cheetah Stand QSB 34. One thing that you can't see in this image here is that there's a lot of people to the left and the right. So I chose this kind of composition specifically because it was devoid a bit of people. So I wanted to make sure that that was, you know, no people in the shot as much as possible, try to reduce distractions. So in this image, you can actually see that there's people immediately behind her. There's some sort of famous needle thing at this park, which was in Vancouver. So a lot of people were here at this park. But back to this image, this is without any sort of flash firing, and then I turned on the flash, and I do want to say that I was either at full power or half power. Let's just say full power because I'm pretty sure that's what it was, because it was very strongly backlit. I am at ISO 50 f1.2 with that 50 1.2 lens and at 1/8000th of a second. And as you can see, full power was a pretty good output for the model, Philly, because she's exposed correctly, and I actually really do like where the lighting was positioned, so I was pretty good with that in terms of output, in terms of position. All I need to do now is really get kind of creative with my posing Philly, and also just anything else I want to get creative with in terms of the dress. So that's why I have Alan throw it in a second. In this next photo, you can see that she starts to pose a little bit, and I do like this shot. I wanted to get a couple of shots without any sort of dress moving so I can see how that looked like, and if I prefer it with it not flung or with it, you know, flung in the air. And obviously, you know, you want to get those shots with it in the air because those are more interesting. So here is the very first shot with the dress flung, and I honestly really liked it the most. So that's why I went ahead and edited the shot. And honestly, it would be a very quick video if I just stopped here. So I want to just go ahead and explain a little bit about how I processed the photo, both in Lightroom and then in Photoshop. But before I do that, I also wanted to show you guys some of the other photos I took with the dress flung, so you can see not every dress fling was perfect. I don't like this one. This one's okay, but it has kind of like a broken part in the dress, and that one looks nice. One big thing that's really important when it comes to capturing motion with the dress flung is the timing. So sometimes Alan would throw the dress and it was a nice throw, but I was bad with timing, and that created the bad shot. So it's a little bit my fault when it comes to the timing. Sometimes the dress flung was not that good, so sometimes it's his fault, but it's teamwork, and that's important. Here's the other shot. Here's a shot in portrait orientation because I wanted to take some for Instagram, and they prefer portrait orientation shots. And now that I'm actually looking at this shot, I really do like how it looks like in terms of the dress. There's nice shadows and then highlights, and then it just leads into her. But I wanted that closeness with that other shot that I decided to edit because I just felt like it just screamed portrait better. It translated into a better portrait. even though this one does have a nice foreground and then that nice sky on top there in that portrait orientation. Here's another dress fling. Here are some closer shots, and these are all completely unedited, so you know, bear with me. So here's a couple of these shots, and she changes the pose. Here's another shot that actually had the light blocking her face and creating shadow there, so that's why that is going on there. If I really liked this pose, then I probably would have changed the flash or the flash position to be in another area so that it wouldn't cast those shadows. Philly here was very into flow posing, which means changing your pose like after every shot. That was a little bit of an issue, but I was trying my best to communicate like, oh, you know, the pose was great, but stay there. I'm gonna get the lighting nailed down. So that was something I had to communicate with her. And here is another shot, and I did take, you know what, I'm gonna speed cycle through a couple of these different photos because I do want to share them with you guys, but I don't know how to share them with you because I don't want to make another building the shot video from this photo shoot. But if you guys want to see that, let me know, because I'm really happy with one other photo which I have yet to edit, which is gonna be, I think it's this one right here. So I'm really happy with this shot. If you guys do want to see a building the shot video from this photo here, then let me know. Again, this is unedited, so I'm gonna just back out of this photo. What's unique about this image is not just the camera gear that I used, but also how I process this photo in Lightroom. I usually do boost the saturation quite a bit on the bottom here with this calibration section, the blue primary saturation slider, but I must have been sleepy when I edited this shot because I didn't do that. And I also didn't sharpen this photo either. I kept it at 40 when I usually bring it up to 60. And I also just didn't do anything in terms of the basic exposure adjustments here, these sliders. Everything that I did that was different with this photo and how I processed it will be with the adjustment brush that I did, or the adjustment brushes that I made to this photo. So I'll show you guys those right now. Again, the keyboard shortcut is going to be K, and then you can see all the different things that I did here. The first thing I did was I felt like the sky was a little too bright. So you guys can see everything that's highlighted in red is going to be the things that were going to be changed. So this is the before, and then this is the after. I just toned them down a little bit by reducing the highlights and the whites, as well as increasing the blacks. I didn't want the sky to kind of rob the attention from the model Philly here, so I just toned them down a little. I also felt like the ground in front of her, I felt like it was a little too dark, so you guys can see this is going to be the before, and then this is going to be the after. So it's very brighter than before where it was pretty darker. So the next thing I did was I felt like the eyes can give a little bit of pop, so I zoomed in on that, and you guys can actually see all the detail because this is the A7R5 61 megapixels. So I can zoom in, really close and just adjust the exposure of the eye. Another thing I felt like was the back of the dress here. Before I adjusted it, I felt like it was too dark, so I increased the shadows quite a bit in this section, and then that kind of just made it more even with the rest of the exposure of those shadows. And then I think the very last thing I did was increase the bottom part of her leg and the rock. So here is going to be the before, and then here's going to be the after. And I just felt like it would be more even with the rest of the exposure on her, so that's why I increased that area. And then everything else, I'll show you guys how I change this photo a bit in Photoshop right now. Okay, so now that we're here in Photoshop, I'll show you guys everything that I did to this image. The very first thing that I did was remove a lot of the distractions, including the light stand and the light, Alan and Ashley. So that's everything that's going to be in this first layer. You can see they're here and now they're gone. I used to take photos without the light in the way, and I just got so spoiled by Photoshop Beta's new AI tool called Generative Fill that I just use that now. And the only reason why I would probably take another shot without the light in the way is if there was something that was very important and that couldn't be generated by the AI behind the light stand or something. So that's, I'm just spoiled by the AI right now in Photoshop. So I use that to remove the distractions. Then I did a little bit of selective color to just add a little bit more life in terms of the color. I also did a little bit of frequency separation on the dress and just a little bit on the skin. I also removed further distractions, again using generative fill in Photoshop. So that's what did this job right here to make a realistic floor rather than clone snapping or something like that. So that was that right there. I also felt like this sky was too bright and overexposed, so I think I also used another generative fill to just remove that bright exposure in the sky. And then I added a little bit more vibrance. And this one layer called dark blob is because sometimes when it comes to generative fill in Photoshop, the things that you kind of remove in Photoshop, sometimes the exposure of the things that are generated will be a tad bit dark. So one thing you can do is just add a little bit of exposure to those areas, or you can just do what I did and just run another generative fill over that area where I felt like it's a little uneven. Then I also increased the exposure, I believe, of this area that was a little dark right here. So that's just purely that layers just for that little area. And then one thing I did do in this photo was also use generative fill to the dress. So you can see this is going to be the before and this is the after. I just felt like it was too wrinkly, so I wanted to see what generative fill could do. So that's what I did to this dress, and I felt like it was more silky, flowy kind of looking with the generative fill. And one thing that I thought was really cool was sometimes I just have fun with the AI, and I thought, you know what if I wanted a little bit more volume in her hair? So I was like, maybe if I select this area here and put brunette hair, maybe it would give something realistic looking. So that's exactly what I did. I clicked this area over here, I selected that area right there, this area, and then I used generative fill, and then what it did is what it created here. I felt like the hair was super realistic, so I just left it in there. So this is the before and then this is the after. It did a good job of just mimicking how the hair was already there, so I liked it. It had a little bit more volume because I felt like the volume would really help with this pulled back shot. So this is going to be again before and after. I just felt like it gave it more volume and made a better portrait, so I left that in. And then the next couple things I did was just add a little bit more color to the sand area, just a tad bit more. And then I also felt like her skin was a tad bit orangey, so I changed the skin tones using selective color adjustment layer. And that was everything I did to this photo, and that's how I created it. If you have any other questions about this photo or how I adjusted it, let me know in the comment section below. And also let me know if you want to see another building the shot video from that other photo that I showed you earlier where she was laying down, because I really do like that shot. That's pretty much it for this video. One last thanks to Adorama for sponsoring this video. And for now, just take care guys, and I'll see you in the very next video.